there's so many questions I'd ask, but I think one thing is that this was one of the most poignant moments that I've seen, especially in a lower budget movie, a story that I knew very little about, but sort of remembered bits and pieces of it. I want to ask, what brought you to bring this story to light? I'll ask Christian this question first, because this is the director and writer, in case you all didn't know.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I had someone very close to me, a family member who, because of a mental health issue, they suffered from mental health issues my whole life, and because of that, I heard a lot of this anti-government conspiracy theory. You know, it wasn't really a political ideology as much as it was just sort of mental illness and conspiracy. But because of that, I started looking into this movement because the lingo was very similar, and I sort of discovered the sovereign citizen movement, and then I learned about this crime. And, you know, just the idea of telling a coming-of-age story of a young guy and his father in that circumstance, I felt like I had an access point to that. And it just touched on so many themes that I think are really relevant. It felt kind of like a classical tragedy and you know, sort of in that narrative sense, but it you know, set in present day America.
Nick, what brought you to this?
I was sent the script by my agent, a heroic guy named Josh Katz, and he said, just read this. And I did, and you know, so much of the language of the sovereign citizen, even now, is inscrutable. It's, you know, it's such gobbledygook, and so I'm somewhat. I like books, you know. I'm at least medium intelligence, and I read the script and was like, Jesus Christ! It was the language was hard to parse, but the emotional impact of the story, the human story underneath it, I read it and said, I called my agent and said, I think I have to do this. There's something about humanizing these people in this circumstance. For me, it immediately brought to mind the January 6th rioters, and just all of the people I know in this country that are nice people that will have you over and make you a sandwich, but according to their news information system, they're like, oh shit, you check one of these boxes, I should actually kill you or discriminate against you. And I just thought, I was immediately so grateful for Christian's writing and the way he laced the way fathers raise their sons and how we instill masculinity in our young men, or not, how we pay attention to empathy or not. And I just said I would very much like to be in the back of the Suburban you're driving.
This is a story that clearly, when you first come out, and for me, this is about me now, right? When you first come on the screen, there's obviously, for somebody who's a liberal, there's a moment of going, but also for me, I felt for you. I felt for this character. It opened my eyes to sort of go, it's not all just cut and dry. As an actor, how did you embrace that? Is this something that is this something that was close to you, or is this something that you felt is so far away from who you are that you had to tackle this?
Well, I mean, I'm so in awe of what Christian. This is his debut. This is his directing debut. And he made the film with such a sure hand. And that, I mean, I'm on the edge of emotion right now because I'm gonna mention Jacob, but he just blows me away. I despise how good he is. He fills me with rage. And so, I mean, the two of us, I asked him for a lot of career advice, actually, during the filming, but we had such a great time in Christian's hands, and so I didn't tap into one of the things that I find so moving about the writing is that it points up how much nuance is required for a bunch of human beings to try and govern themselves. And we've made this tacit agreement that we have these documents and we've agreed on these rules. We've written them down. We're like, okay, well, let's shake hands and we'll follow these rules. And over the centuries, as we see, even every day in the news, we continue to bend and parse these rules we've written down to serve our needs, to serve our billionaire masters' needs, and so all of that, the stuff really struck me when I'm talking to the people about what is fallacious about like our financial system or the way that people are being taken advantage of if you're taking out a mortgage on your house or a loan or, if you're under the thumb of a bank. All of those things should be questioned, and we should all have an awareness of, what's happening to our money and so forth. And so just the human side of that and having the personal tragedies that he had, trying to raise his son, that was what I could tap into. I'm also a terrible liberal. I care about everybody, unfortunately, and am mistakenly wanting to offer everyone the same respect I hope they'll give me. I'm working on it.
Yeah. Did you, when you first were thinking about who you wanted in this part, Christian, in all the characters, what was that process for you? Was it Nick first, or was there a short list? Was there a long list? Were you waiting for that person to walk in and just suddenly become that person for you?
No, I mean, from my producer Nick Mosseri, who's also here tonight.
Yes, please applaud for Nick Mosseri.
From the very beginning, we, Nick was like the dream, from the beginning,
sure.
and some, we discussed it, early on of, wow, do you think we could get him to look at it? We were such a small project, and I think we were really just blown away, and it's, life-changing when somebody, an actor of this caliber, even reads your material, let alone decides to take this sort of leap of faith on me as a filmmaker and us as a team, as a first-time director to do a project like this. So it was, when we found out he was interested, it was the biggest, I remember my wife is here too. I remember coming out and being like, "Oh my God, you won't believe!" It was incredible, and it's, it's how the film got made, and I think our cast in this film was just a blessing. It was really the biggest blessing. I not just the incredible performances, but who they are as people. And it's awkward because we're up here together, but I can brag. Nick, not just as an actor, but as a leader. So much of it on a film that size, especially, is like, how do you lead as number one on the call sheet? And he knew every single person's name on set, down to the caterers, to the grips. And that set a tone of a collaborative atmosphere that no single person, me or the producers or anybody, could have done that. And so I'm just, forever grateful for the cast in this film, and Nick and Jacob and Dennis. And
this was also shot while we were in the midst of negotiations. And this was an interim agreement contract, correct?
It was. So the interim agreement played a really vital role for us. The film was shot after the strikes had ended. But the interim agreement allowed us to continue putting together our film, because without a studio backing us, this was purely independent. and it was based off of pre-sales. These small movies, I mean, and there were, how many, I don't know how many were wiped out, but during that, because they're based on sales and it's so time framed that if we wouldn't have had the interim agreement, all those sales would have gone away and the film just would have never happened. So, for small movies especially, it was crucial for us.
Jacob came from Canada. Is that what
he did?
That's right.
How did that happen? I mean, not that how did that happen, but I mean, surely you must have seen a lot of kids for this as well. And
yeah,
there certainly was perfectly cast, but
yeah, we did. We met with a lot of young actors, but Jake, I think, is just in another caliber. He's incredible. He's an incredible.
He's the rich man's Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah, he is.
I said it. And can I just say real quick, I part of to answer a question that wasn't asked of me, I come from little theater companies in Chicago. I come from a wonderful agricultural family in Illinois of school teachers and librarians. So I've lived my life in small groups of people doing things to make people feel better for no pay. And so the older I get, the luckier I'm aware that I am, because I still read scripts like this in the hopes that this will happen. And quite often, because I come from little theater companies that aren't controlled by American Airlines, which is a total diss to Steppenwolf that no one got. Suck on that. I've done many shows there. I love them, but we were doing a production of Clockwork Orange, and they asked us to do less punching because American Airlines might get upset. I digress. When you read something like this and you sign on, it's in the hopes that the production will behave like it did. And I just want to say, one thing I love about watching this film, which is it's so emotionally painful, but this is my fourth time seeing it, and I'll see it again because it's so exquisite, it's so gorgeous, it's so beautifully made every time. And one thing I personally love about it is every place we go in the movie, I think of the producer, Nick Offerman. I think of being there with him and what a nice time we had everywhere we went with our ragtag group of 35, kids of all ages making our movie. And that's, I mean, no matter what size of film, to me, that's the most exquisite experience you can have, is getting together a bunch of pals and putting on a show that an audience will be affected by. And so, Nick will get a lot less screen time than we do, but he should really be lauded as much as anybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you take on a character like this, is it something that you are indelibly that person from beginning to end, or do you walk up to the, as soon as they say action, then you become this character?
I'm definitely not, yeah, I'm not deep in my process. Thankfully, I mean, Megan is gracious enough to put up with like my haircuts and my facial hair. But if I were to come home and say, "Do you mind calling me Jerry?" for the next 5 to 6 weeks, I think I could be sleeping in the yard. But no, I mean, day to day, it's all I can do to just like, have my lines ready for the next day and have my scene work prepared. And so, with a lot of these big, heavy scenes, there's more quiet time, and there's a sort of a somber tone of like, okay, for that duel scene or some of the emotional scenes. This was I never realized, like, this is the first time I noticed that that duel scene, that there were highways up above us and there was traffic happening. I had no idea. I was somewhat preoccupied, but I mean, I'm just a punter, like doing my best to like shit out a good scene every day.
Which you do.
Well, I appreciate it.
You're a pretty good punter.
I don't distract myself by reading any Meisner. With all due respect to everyone's method, that is not mine.
Were there rehearsals? Did you? I mean, no.
No rehearsals.
Okay, well then. The next project?
I'm working on it right now. Is there
anything that you feel you wanted that was missing from the piece that you would have hoped?
I guess maybe as a direct, more time. Just on.
How long did it take for you to shoot this?
We shot it in 23 days was the final, right? 25, and then it was cut down though to what? So it was, I think I'm overstating. Maybe it was 24 or 25. I can't remember, but we had a schedule that was longer initially. And then that shootout scene that you guys saw, we filmed that in one day. And Nick was laying on the ground in this parking lot in Arkansas, and we were shaking the van, and everybody was throwing rubber glass, and it was insane because we were supposed to have 2 days to film it, and we had lightning strikes happen and shut our production down for a day, and we were stuck, and we had another day then get shut down by weather at the end of our day, and so we had to lose some scenes and then shoot that in one day. And so I think if we would have had more time, but who knows? I'm so proud of it. And, we set out to make a difficult film. It's not a film that has easy answers. It's, but I love these kind of films. And I think we made the film that we wanted to make, which I'm really thankful for.
Well, thank you, Nick. Thank you, Chris. Everybody, word of mouth. I think
thank you.
It's the way these smaller movies actually get to be seen.
Tell your friends.